Range Rover Velar, host of Tech Today. Whenever you see a Range Rover vehicle, there's something distinct about the design of that particular vehicle and performance. Now, performance you've seen several reviews of on Tech Today, but at this grand launch event for the Range Rover Velar, we have a very special guest all the way down from the UK, Anthony Pete, the man behind the design of this particular vehicle, is joining us. What a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you, thank you.
Tony, when you look at the Velar, it's kind of deceptive because you look at it from the outside and you say, this is an incremental change, but there's a lot that's gone in the design philosophy inside and also in making it look so consistent and so slick and so classy.
Yeah, it's mid-cycle freshening, which this is never easy. You have to make the choice between what you leave and what you improve, and you know we're very conscious of that at Range Rover. So what we've done here really is use this opportunity just to bring the car up, bring it in line with the rest of the Range Rover brand, introduce some new technologies on the exterior, and signpost them with some beautiful design work.
That's kind of interesting, Tony, because you know, as a tech geek, I look at some of these vehicles and I say, there's so much pressure now in the market to go and look all futuristic and electric, but Range Rovers stand out. Actually, across the JLR lineup, even the Defender that we had on the show, it looks special. And there's something special about how you've planned all of that at the group, because if you look at the classic Defenders back in the day, there's still some of that DNA and lineage in the modern day Defender. I feel like the Velar is a very popular product around the world, but if you want to walk us through some of the differences, you can walk around the car and tell us all about it, and then we'll get inside as well. I think from the grille is where the first change comes, and then right here as well. I'm guessing I've gotten that right, Tony.
Yes, that's right. I mean, the car was such a strong starting point from our perspective. It won Car of the Year when it was created. It's an icon in the brand now. It was the fourth Range Rover to join the family after the Range Rover Sport and Evoque. But it set the template for reductionist, modernist design. So we got a lot of things correct on this car, which then influenced the cars that came after it. So when we did the MCF, you rightly point out, we started with some of the detail work effectively, and just lifted that up. So you'll see the grille, for example. This now is the same template as the Range Rover and Range Rover Sport. It follows the same design strategy. So it has the same look and feel, same colours. And that leads on to the lamps, where we have a very distinctive daylight running lamp, which again is in lockstep with the other partners in the brand. The new technology inside the lamp offers the driver some fantastic improvements in terms of the vision down the road in the evening. The technical specification for that we're going to go through later, but what that means for me is I get to draw a new lamp and some new jewellery details.
But the tech is really important, because I've seen this with the autobiography and the full-size Range Rover as well, in terms of the throw and visibility. That's a big deal, and in terms of oncoming traffic as well. There's a lot of tech, and I'm guessing it must be a lot of fun putting that all together. But what I want to understand as well, you said Range Rover Sport, the Evoque being slightly smaller, the Velar, and then across the lineup you also have the F-Pace. Almost the same size in terms of, well, externally what their dimensions are like, but is that a challenge sometimes, Tony, to differentiate within the lineup as well, because they're all very popular products?
Well, I mean, that's leading to where we're going with the house of brands. Because what we're creating now is distinct differentiation between the four pillars in the house of brands, which would be Defender, Discovery, Range Rover and Jaguar.
Correct.
So when we do that, we're separating each of the key elements, key brands, and creating unique elements for each of those brands to celebrate the differences. It creates clear water between all the brands. So technically we're not going to sort of interfere with one another, but it also means we're going to focus on what the brands need to be. So that includes the environments they live in, the customers, the look and feel, the way we sell the cars, the way we market them. It's going to be an encompassing formula for each of the pillars in the brand, in the house of brands.
What's also really interesting is you're saying this is a launch in 2023, a big one for all SUV lovers here in India as well. But what's interesting there, Tony, is that there is a demand from the consumer to have more tech, right? From the engineering side, from the product side. But then I'd imagine there's a design challenge there, because you're cramming in so much tech, but you still got to keep it minimalistic. Is that something that the design team has to contend with on a regular basis?
Absolutely. It's a key point, actually. We have lots of phrases I could use here, like, you know, it's just because you can doesn't mean you should. but probably the one thing that probably describes the job of an MCF most is the difficulty you've got, because often it's what you leave out and not what you put in that makes the difference for the brand. So this is what Range Rover is all about. It's about sometimes the simplicity and the elegance and the grace. When we talk about the technology, we filter the available technology through the lens of Range Rover, through the customer's perspective. What is the technology going to enable to make the Range Rover experience more suitable to the customer? What's going to make it special? And that's kind of the first pass. It's not about just having the technology, it's about making sure that it's relevant.
And also with the design and the engineering side, I've always wondered, with Range Rovers, can you adopt a one-size-fits-all approach when you're looking at different markets? What works in the UK, yes, we have right-hand drive cars here in India as well, but can you have the same philosophy if you're approaching, say, well, a Brazil and an India and maybe the United States at the same point? Is it, well, a consistent philosophy, or you have to tweak the product a little bit, especially from the design side?
We do learn a lot from various means, including clinics, including our dealer network. The simple truth is we do tune the products for each of the markets, but consistently what we want to try is create an overarching offer, which is a Range Rover. Now we do tune those offers depending on roads, technology, customer requirements, but ultimately we're trying to create a global car. It's not easy. We have a really diverse design team, so as well as the inputs we get from our technical aspects, from dealers and engineering, we also have a very diverse design team who bring their cultural backgrounds with them, and that also influences the design of the cars. And amongst all of that, we're trying to tease out what is Range Rover, including what it was and where it's going, and this at a point in time represents our trajectory, let's just say.
And it does talk about the trajectory for the brand, and it's interesting with the all-electric vision at Jaguar as well. It would inspire a very different design language. So I understand the Range Rover brand, and you've been very clear about that, and I appreciate it. But when we talk about the all-electric vision for the group, or even, well, plug-in hybrids coming in and cars looking more futuristic, is that sometimes, well, some sort of inspiration? Are you also looking maybe 5 or 10 years down the line in terms of what the Range Rover might look like?
Oh, we definitely are. I mean, I can't tell you what it looks like.
Does it look a lot more like an EV?
It looks very much like a Range Rover. No, I think the key to this is it's what Range Rover should be, not necessarily the powertrain that drives the car forward. The powertrains will come and go. It's changing from ICE to electric. Ultimately, we'll all be electric, and that question about internal combustion versus battery will have been answered. Over all of that, it's still a Range Rover. So we have to wrestle with that that input, let's say, to get to the electric Range Rover. These are steps on the way. One thing I would say about electric technology is it does free up a lot of what were fundamentally locked in proportional constraints. Engines in the front, drivetrains, they kind of set the template for a certain layout. What electrification can do is it can allow you the flexibility to explore a little more fully about what your vehicle is.
It opens up more space as well.
Absolutely, it is. And part of what Range Rover is space. So that gives us a great opportunity. But with those opportunities, we have to obviously filter them and curate what we do through that brand lens.
Fair enough, you're still not revealing your cards, and I appreciate that. But another thing interesting about the car is, and every time we have a Range Rover on the show, is that it is so subtle and minimalistic. And I must say this, Tony, for instance, well, people sitting in the car don't even know that active noise cancellation is at play, right? Some of those technology features in terms of where you've managed to put the microphones, how you're cutting out some of the sound, or even some of the lighting and ambient lighting, the way it's all really fitted into the vehicle is actually, well, an unsung hero for the Range Rover, I feel, because it is so subtle and minimalistic. Is that something that we will see going forward, where the confluence of technology and design, you guys have to work in tandem, in sync, to keep, well, that same design language and uphold it, so to speak?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we want to celebrate the technology that's in the car, but in the appropriate way. you know, we also want to celebrate the luxury that's in the car. I mean, if you think about the technology, that enabler, that, like you say, everything's happening behind the scenes, that speaks exactly to the customer, where they may well be from a very, you know, they may well, we call it the silent butler. It's just things going on, the help, you know, that experience will be seamless in the vehicle. But we still need to somehow celebrate luxury, let's say.
That's right.
And what we'll probably be doing is that with more of the materiality, more of the ambience.
Now, see, I'm a Liverpool fan, you're a Newcastle fan, I believe, so I have to put you on the spot. If you were to pick your favorite vehicle from the JLR lineup over the years, we can go back to classics as well, what would that one vehicle be?
That is a really tough question. In my job, I get the chance to drive out all of our products, and it's a really, really privileged position to be in.
Well, we all envy you.
Well, I mean, I do it for work purposes as well. We're constantly evaluating our own products. I've had the pleasure of having Velar. I think Velar is a fantastic vehicle. Probably, I mean, I would say Velar, wouldn't I, today? But it's probably one of the vehicles that kind of meets my needs.
Right.
I have a family. It's sleek, it's elegant, it's actually, in a way, somehow understated. So it kind of fits me. But I'm currently driving a Defender, and I love that car to pieces as well. It's, like I said, it's such a fantastic position to be in.
I do have a question about the Defender before we wrap up. I love the design, but I was curious, what was the entire philosophy behind the sort of peak holes right in the back that you can peer out of from the top?
The Alpine windows?
Yes, the Alpine windows.
Well, I mean, there's something which historically has been linked to Defender. It's one of the little tethers that we tether the brand to. We're very proud of that heritage. We're proud of all of our heritage, and we are blessed with that history in all four pillars. And the trick for us, or the thing we have to do, is not to just create a pastiche of the past, but we sometimes have those little Easter eggs which people in the know will notice.
Absolutely.
And you did. So that was the point of it. It just listens to what was said in the past and just repeats that message.
Tony, I appreciate all the insights. I've had a lot of questions every time I sit in a Range Rover, and a lot of them have been answered. A lot of them will continue to be answered all across the Tech Today platforms as well. And if you have any questions, do write into us. Maybe we'll sneak a question to Tony a little later as well, but we'd really appreciate you joining us. And of course, you know all about the design and the tech in this car, but it's going to be on the show very soon, and we'll give you a proper, honest Tech Today review. We'll see you soon.